Shinobu. Imagine walking into a room full of strangers, and everyone is completely naked. No swimsuits, nothing.
And nobody thinks it's strange at all. In Japan, this happens every single day in thousands of onsen and sento across the country.
So why do Japanese people bathe together naked and feel completely comfortable doing it? Let's find out.
Welcome to Japan with Ninjas, the podcast where we explore Japanese culture in slow, easy English.
I'm Hikari. Today we're talking about onsen, hot springs, and why communal naked bathing became such a normal, even beloved part of daily life.
And I'm Shinobu. It's a topic that surprises a lot of visitors, so let's explain it properly, from the geology all the way to the etiquette.
Because once you understand where it comes from, it stops feeling strange and starts feeling kind of beautiful.
Let's start with geography. Japan sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, with over 100 active volcanoes. That's not good news for earthquakes, but it's wonderful news for hot water.
So all that volcanic activity underground actually heats up natural spring water?
Exactly. Japan has around 3,000 onsen resorts, fed by over 25,000 hot spring sources. Almost nowhere in the country is far from naturally heated, mineral-rich water.
So it's not really a choice, it's almost destiny. With that much hot water everywhere, of course a bathing culture would grow around it.
That's the heart of it. Onsen weren't invented as a luxury. They were simply there, bubbling up out of the ground, waiting to be used.
And people noticed the water actually felt good for the body too, right?
Very early on, different springs are rich in different minerals: sulfur, iron, sodium. And traditional belief holds that each type helps with different things, from sore muscles to skin conditions.
Okay, but hot water alone doesn't explain the naked together part. Where does that come from?
That goes back to Shinto, actually. Water has long been used for purification rituals, washing away not just dirt, but spiritual impurity too.
So bathing was never just about getting clean. It had a spiritual meaning built in from the very start.
Right. And practically speaking, in a crowded country with limited space, communal bathhouses called sento became the normal way for ordinary people to bathe, especially once homes with private baths became common only in the last century.
So people who didn't have a bath at home just went to the neighborhood sento instead?
Exactly. And it became a social hub too. Neighbors chatting, catching up on news, relaxing together after work. It wasn't just hygiene. It was community.
Wait, I read that mixed bathing, men and women together, used to be normal too?
It's true. For centuries, mixed bathing, called konyoku, was common and not considered scandalous at all. It only became controversial when Western visitors arrived in the late 1800s and were shocked by it.
So the gender-separated baths we see today are actually a fairly recent change?
Largely, yes. Under pressure to appear modern to the West, the government gradually pushed most public baths toward gender separation. A small number of mixed onsen still exist today, mostly in rural areas.
Okay, so if I visited an onsen tomorrow, what are the rules I absolutely need to know?
Rule 1. Wash your entire body thoroughly at the washing station before ever entering the bath. The bath itself is for soaking, not for washing, and everyone shares that same water.
So the bath water needs to stay clean for the next person. That actually makes a lot of sense.
Rule 2. No swimsuits, ever. You bathe naked. But you're given a small hand towel, which you can use to cover yourself while walking, then set aside, folded, on your head or the poolside while you soak.
And I've heard the towel should never actually touch the bathwater.
Correct. That keeps the water clean for everyone. And Rule 3, an important one for visitors. Many onsen still ban visible tattoos, historically associated with organized crime groups.
Even a small, tasteful tattoo? That must catch a lot of foreign travelers off guard.
It does, though this is slowly changing. Many onsen now offer cover-up stickers or private family baths, so tattooed guests aren't simply turned away.
So the etiquette sounds strict on paper, but it's really just about respecting shared, clean, quiet space. So here's the real question. Why does nakedness feel completely normal here, when in many other cultures it would feel awkward or even taboo?
There's actually a phrase for this, Hadaka no tsukiai, which roughly means naked communication, or the friendship of being naked together.
I love that idea. Without clothes, there's no status, no job title, no fancy watch. Everyone is just a person.
That's exactly the philosophy. Company colleagues, even bosses and new employees have historically bonded over bathhouse trips because the water washes away hierarchy along with the dirt.
So it's less about the body and more about honesty and equality between people.
Precisely. In this context, nakedness isn't sexual at all. It's simply the natural, shared state everyone arrives in, like breathing the same air.
But let's be honest here too. Is this tradition actually staying strong, or is it fading a bit in modern Japan?
Good question, and I won't pretend it's simple. Some traditional sento have closed as private home baths became standard. Younger generations visit less often than their grandparents did.
But onsen tourism itself is thriving. Ryokan inns with beautiful hot spring baths remain hugely popular, both with Japanese travelers and visitors from abroad.
So the neighborhood sento may be quietly fading, but the deeper love of hot spring bathing is very much alive.
Recap time. Japan sits on volcanic ground with thousands of natural hot springs, so a bathing culture grew up almost naturally around all that hot water.
Bathing carries deep Shinto roots in purification, and public sento became both practical necessity and beloved community gathering spots.
Mixed bathing was once completely normal and only shifted toward gender separation under Western influence in the late 1800s.
Modern etiquette is simple but important. Wash first, no swimsuits, and watch out for tattoo restrictions, which are slowly easing.
And at its heart, it's all about Hadaka no tsukiai, naked communication, where everyone meets as equals. No status, no clothes, just people.
So the next time you slip into a steaming onsen, remember, you're taking part in something far older and far more meaningful than just a bath.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and give us a like. It helps more curious learners find us. And today's question, would you feel comfortable bathing naked with strangers like this? Or does your culture do something completely different? Tell us in the comments.
Next time, another journey into the heart of Japan. Until then, take a moment to relax, wherever you are.
See you next time on Japan with Ninjas. Matane.